We're at the two dots on Kuf Samachay Amar Aleph, 4 lines on the top. We said in the Mishnah, we had the machlokes in the Mishnah about the get pashut. What if you do a get pashut and you're supposed to put the signatures of a get makusher on the outside? You did the other way around. So one man said you could open it up and make it into whatever the machlokes was. And Rav Shimon Gamliel says at the end that kol kamin hamadina. Everything goes according to the custom of the place you're in. In fact, in one of the Tanakama last Medina. This is all the Rabbanans, right? And the Mishnah didn't really say anything about what exactly the difference is between a get makusher and a get pasha. We said the differences as far as how many edim you have to have. We said differences about where you sign it, going to different machlokes. But like we said before, it's the Rabbanan and the Chamul Misakin. So who would ever object to Hakol Kaminig Hamadin if you have a minig in a certain place? Obviously, you have to follow their minhagim about who does a get pashut, who does a get makusher, how do you do them? So why the Tanakam disagrees with this? So if you're in a place where the minig is to do a get pashut, not to do a get makusher, their minig is not to do like we said in order that the kehanim shouldn't divorce their wives hastily. They don't have that minig. And the man told his sefer, I want you to write me get pashut like our minig. And nevertheless, the sefer went ahead and did a makusher. Kaveda. Obviously, that's a hakbada. The person, let's say we're talking about, it's talking about any kind of shtar, but we're talking over here about a husband is the more simple case. Husband said, I want to do like our minig. Our minig is to do a get pashut, and the sefer goes and doesn't follow his instructions and makes a get makusher. Obviously, the husband is makbid. He didn't want a get makusher. That's not the minig over here. Or nigi makusher, amli avli makusher. Or if the minig is to do makusher, and he told the sefer to make a get makusher, and instead he did, the sefer disregarded and made a pashut kaped. Again, the person who's asking to write the shtar or the get is makbid to do it kafi the minig. We're in a place that their minig is to do both. Maybe a kehanim do makusher and everyone else does pashut, or whatever the case may be, whatever their minig is. But the minig is sometimes one and sometimes the other, or you have an option. And the guy said, you know what? I'm not a fancy guy. I don't need this whole fancy get makusher. Just make me a get pashut. The sefer said, I'm going to give him more bang for his buck. Even though he just asked me to do a pashut, I'm going to do the more elaborate get makusher. Marsava kved. So the Tanakama says, Tanakama our Mishnah would hold, no, since he said specifically, I want a pashut. And that's what he said. So if it's not what he said, that's not what he didn't make a shliach for that. So, for example, if it's a woman, it's not a kosher get, and he can't be megarish her with it. The other mandama says no. He said the minig is to do either a get pashut or a makusher. The get pashut is the most simple one. The get makusher is more elaborate. He was just telling him you could even do, I don't care, just make me. I want to get. You can make a regular get. Listen, if you're going to go ahead and make the fancy get, it's even better. Everyone likes fancy. But I was just saying, I was giving you an example. If you want, you could just even make a regular one. So that which he said in a place with the minig is to do both, that which he said in this case, the less demanding type was just a suggestion. It's not a hakbada. It's not he was saying, if it's not that, I'm not interested. He's going to pay him the same $5 no matter what. It's not saying he's going to pay him more for it. Obviously, if it costs $10 for a get makusher, and the sefer says, I wrote you a fancy one and you asked for a simple one, and now I want you to pay $10 instead of $5, he's going to say, I never asked you to pay that. And it's going to be no sale. We're talking over here, the sefer just threw it in. He said, I'm going to do the fancy one. So Amar Abaya, So we say it's a mara makamulai. All he was doing in saying that he wants a get pashut was just giving a suggestion. He's saying you could do that. Amar Abaye, Reb Shimon Gamliel, Reb Shimon, Reb Elazar, Kulu Svirlu mara makamulai. They all hold of this svara that we just said. Sometimes when a client or somebody says a specific, he gives specific instructions, sometimes it's not meant to be to the exclusion of other possibilities, but he's just giving one of several possibilities into your option to do what you please. So Rav Shimon Gamliel Hadamar, we just explained Rav Shimon Gamliel in our Mishnah, holds like that Lagabi, a person who said a get pashat, that it could even do a get, the Sefer could even do a get makusha. Reb Shimon the Tanan. Reb Shimon Omer, Imhitul Shvach Harezim Mukudashis. This is talking about a woman who told a shliach, please go and accept kedushin from Ruvain. And she said, Ruvain said he's going to give me a silver dinar. And this shliach shows up, and Reuven gives him a gold dinar. So, Reb Shimon Omer, if the man had misled her, the man who's getting engaged to her, who's getting mekudesh to her, had told her a silver dinar, and he ends up giving her more, it's still a good shlichus, it's still a good kedushin. Because what do we say? So we say, because Maramakumulai, although he said a silver dinar and he ended up giving her a gold dinar, all he was saying is, she was telling the shliach, listen, if he gives you even as much as the silver dinar, I'm happy with it. But certainly she's even happier with more. The gold dinar is worth 25 silver dinar. So she's certainly going to be happy with 25 of gold, 25 gold dinar. So we're saying, even though she had told the shliach specifically take a silver dinar from him, that was just a mara vakum. It was just an example. She said, I'm willing to take even a silver dinar, but certainly I'm happy with even more. That's another example of this svara of mara makumula. A woman who said, my husband wants to divorce me, I'm making you a shliach, and you can go to Borough Park and get the get from him. You can be makabel the get from him in Borough Park. The kibbutz mimakamacher, and it turns out the guy wasn't in Borough Park, but you happen to be going to Los Angeles. The shliach went to Los Angeles. He said, "Oh, there's the husband. Your wife said she's willing to send me to accept the get." And the husband says, "Okay, here's the get in Los Angeles." So do we say that she only gave him instructions to accept it in Borough Park? She didn't tell him to go to Los Angeles. So the Tanakama says, puzzle. It's puzzle. He wasn't made a shliach to go so far, or to go to Los Angeles. Elazar machshir. Elazar says it's kosher. Masav kpeda. The Tanakama says that it's no good is because he holds, she said Borough Park, she means Borough Park, and anything besides Borough Park, she didn't make him a shliach. Masav maramakumulai. She was just giving him a suggestion. I want to get the get from him. By the way, you could probably find him in Borough Park instead of going around looking for him. You go to Borough Park and find him. So it's just a suggestion. But if you find him someplace else, that's also good. So it's the same concept. Do you take an instruction and reinterpret it as not being a directive, that if it's not followed, then the shlichus is batal? But rather it's just a suggestion. It's trying to give him an idea of how he could carry it out. So whether it's in our case where he said to get pashat, or the following din where he said 1 dinar and it came out to be more than a dinar, or in this case where she gave a place. All these things we say mar makom. These are all these mandam are saying the same shit. So we said in the Mishnah that a get makosher, a tied up get, has to be 3 edim, and a get pashut, a regular get, needs 2 edim. And we said in the Mishnah, but if he only had 1 eid on the get pashut, then it's possible. It's like tomorrow. We said if you write a get makusha which needs 3 edim, you only have 2 edim, It's telling you if it's two Adam, it's not good. It's I might say that really you're supposed to have three Adam, but generally the rule is you only need two Adam. So even if you if you have two Adam, maybe by a get makusher, two Adam is enough. Commercial on the puzzle. So it has to tell you it's possible b'diavad if you have two. Ela poshet zekasud b'eid echad. Shita. What do you have to tell me? We said that the minimum for a get makusher is three, and the minimum for a get poshet is two. And then the Mishnah continues and says, but two for a get makusher is possible, and one for a get poshet is possible. Obviously, one is possible. You never have one aid. An aid is not, you need two aidim. Any kind of aid is obviously only one aid is not going to be cautious. What is the Mishnah telling you that for? What do you have to give the example? Say if you do one, it's not kosher. Get everything needs two aidim. When we say get kosher needs two aidim, we just say it has the regular din of aidis. So why would I think less than that is good? Even if you have one aid writes his name, he signs his name on the star, and then there's another aid that says, I saw Reuven lending the money to Shimon. So what happens is that it's coming to tell you that even this is going to be possible. Even if you have two aidim, but they're in two different forms, where one is saying that I saw it, and the other one is signed on the star, it's still going to be possible. That's why we say Eid Echad. When we say Eid Echad is possible by a get pasha, it's coming to tell you the chiddush that they both have to be the same type of Eidim. You either have to have two Eidim that saw the loan, in which case it will be a get a loan balpeh, the star will be worthless, or two Eidim on the star. But you can't have one written and the other one sees the star being given and testifies to the loan and say that this star should be valid with the aid who sees the loan being made. Amema disagreed. He said no. Even if you have a star where Reuven borrowed money from Shimon and there's only one aid signed on it, if there's another aid who saw it, that's going to have a din of a milva b'shtar. That star is going to be a valid star. You can be able to use it to take from lekuchas, right? That's the essential difference between a milva b'peh and a milva b'shtar. That a milva b'shtar has a koil, it becomes mufarsam, it becomes known, and therefore, after the loan, if the borrower sells some of his property, and then he has no money to pay the lender can go be goyva from the lekuchas, he can take away from the people who bought the property of the borrower. That's only if it's a milva b'shtar. It's a milva al-peh. If it's an oral loan, there's no way for a purchaser to be aware that there's a lien on this guy's property, and therefore the lender cannot be goyva from lekuchas.
Is it because it's Makrim and Besdin, so the Besdin is the style? I mean,
no, just the
star.
I don't think
no kind of know about
it's people know. It's
it's
you know you think of New York with 10 million people, but if you have you know what they say, if you want to keep what's the din? If you want to keep a secret, don't tell it to anyone. Something like that. One person is a secret, two people is. Anyway, the bottom line is
to keep a secret if two of them are dead.
Right. So once you have a star and two Adam signed on it, so you got the two parties, and you have the two Adam and everyone's wives and the cleaning lady. By the time you turn around, everyone knows that Reuven borrows money from Shimon. Yeah.
If you're in Shalim, it's a city. Who's going to know?
Listen, I don't really have an answer for you because in our secular system, there's a very formal way of creating a lien. You have to go record it by the Secretary of State, and anyone can go check on the recording system. But the Gemara says, I guess you can go ask, right? You can go ask, did anyone next day in shul you give a clap? Did anyone happen to record? I'm thinking of buying some property from Shimon. Did Shimon ever lend money, and if there's anyone in need, they'll pick up the hand and say, yeah. I don't know. Akasha for Meiser, right? The Metzias.
The assumption is very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, this is Gemara's throughout Shas about what creates a koil legabi this din of lekuchas. We say specifically, right, if it's just the or alone, even though there are two people who saw it, it's not the same koil as if it's written into a star. Yeah, and because it's not really. So this we're not really talking about this now. But this is really the side of this question. If you have an eid echad b'shtar and an echad b'peh, is it going to have that koil, and is it going to have a din of a star? Amema said, Abaya said that it's taka not going to have a din of a star, and Amema says it does. Amalei Ravashi la Amema, Bahada Abaya mai, but I guess Abaya was older than Amema. He said, what about Abaya? Abaya said that it's that our Mishnah is telling us that such a star doesn't have a din of a star. Amalei lo Shemieli. He said, I didn't hear about this. He was trying to say in a not rude way, okay, Abaya said it, I disagree. He said, I didn't hear of it. Ela kasha masisim. So the Gemara asked Amema, but that was the Abaya said his shita in order to answer Pshat in the Mishnah. So what are you going to do with Pshat in the Mishnah, right? We said, why did the Mishnah tell us that one aid is no good by a get pashut? It's pashut. So he said it's coming to tell us this chiddush, that if you have one b'shtar and one b'peh, that it's no good. So what are you going to do with the Mishnah? It says, the shnayim b'mekusher ke'ed echad b'pashut. It's coming to tell you the din that just like two aidim by a mekusher, just like one aid b'pashut is going to be pasal legamri, so too shnayim b'mekusher ma'asam psula deraisa. Just like if you have only one aid on a pashut, obviously that aid is not going to be good. So too, shnayim and makusher. We said you need three by makusher. If you only have two, it's going to be puzzle midaraisa. And Taisus, the Rashi explains. Of course, we're not talking about deraisa, right? It's all the Rabban. So yeah, you got you. The Rashbam explains. Let's see the Rashbam. Mashani hakamasha masisik dani pasha to kasu beirek puzzle. Sheyilman makusher imenu. It's coming to tell you the din of makusher. Lachi tanya leid echad lemembra. Might echad puzzle deraisa. Just like Eid Echad is part of the Raisa B'Sev Lo Yaakov Eid Echad Be'ish, Af Shnayim Shem Makusher, so too the two by a Makusher, he tilu of Chachamim Psul Deraisa. The Chachamim made a puzzle like a Deraisa. Vim get Eine Megarashas and Shtar Milvahu Eine Terfim Mishabdi. It has a din that it's not going to be considered a kosher shtar. Avu Yesha made Echad Balpeh and made Echad Hachasa B'Shtar Azi Yashtar Kosher Legarmi Demitztapim. So it's just saying that it's going to be possible, like a deraisa, that it's not even b'di'evet going to be considered a shtar. But of course, it's not saying that it could be a deraisa. He's saying that Chacham u'misakin that two edim by a makusher is going to not be sufficient. But Einachanami has nothing. Just last part of the Rashbam, but just saying it has nothing to do with Abaya's din. Einachanami, a maimer could be right that Echad b'ksav and Echad b'balpeh is kosher. That's not what the Mishnah is talking about. All the Mishnah is telling you is that the chachamu masak and that you need to have three by makusher. If you don't have the three, it's going to be just as possible midirabanan as if you only had one eid echad by a dirabanan. Okay, hold on a second. Forgot that my wife has to go into work today. She usually going on Fridays. I took her car by mistake. What could I do? Yeah. She usually doesn't go in on Fridays. Yeah. So that's all it means. So that's the Rashbam. The Rashbam is coming to Bavar your confusion. How could something that's a Derabban become a Deraisa? All he's saying is just that it's going to be B'di'evet no good, just like a Deraisa.
Yeah.
Even B'di'evet.
Even B'di'evet is not good.
Even B'di'evet, if you Lamaisa, If you only have two Eidim, it's not going to work. It's not going to be a good start. Even if you decide, listen, the Chum said you're supposed to do three Eidim. They'll say, listen, I'm sorry, I was too busy. I only got two, but push it through. No, just like a deraisa, if you only have one aid, you're out of luck. So if you have two aid and by a makusher, you're out of luck.
But the right said it's a kosher get.
Yeah.
So the Chum said no, nonetheless.
Called the Mekadesh, Adait the Rabbanim Mekadesh, right? Chum could be Mvatal Kedushin. They could make a get be a good get. They could make something that, yeah, right. This is you're saying. How could you say that this get the rice is a good? Because I know we've come across this question before. The Chamim are, they're saying they'll get this bottom with the rice. The same way they could make a kodeshes, they could also do on a get, make the get to be an invalid get. It can be a vatal get. Teda, I'll bring you right. The Tushalcha Mitam, 4 lines down in Kuf Samachayim and Aleph. They sent from Eretz Yisrael Chavrei Rabbi Yirmiyah. The Chaverim of Rabbi Yirmiyah sent to him. Rabbi Yirmiyah, as we're going to see all the way at the end of this Gemara, had been sent out of the base medrash. He'd been kicked out. Eid Echad B'Ksav. They sent to him Eid Echad B'Ksav, Eid Echad Al Peh. If you have one Eid B'Ksav and one Eid Al Peh, Masha Yitztarf. What's the din? Can they mitzdarf? Which is our question, right? This is the machlokes between Abaye and Amema. Abaye said they can't be mitzdarf, and Amema said they can. Aliba the Tanakama Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha Lo Tibayla. There's a machlokes between Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha and the Tanakama, where two Eidim came in, and one said Ruvain borrowed money from Shimon on Sunday. He borrowed $100 from Shimon on Sunday, and the other one said Ruvain borrowed $100 from Shimon on Monday. And the question was, can you be mitzdarf the two of them? And they both are coming saying that we signed on a star, or they both came and said we saw them make the loan al peh. So we said, according to this Tanakama, Tanakama says, if you have two Eidim, and one came on Sunday, one said that he borrowed on Sunday, another one said he borrowed on Monday, you can't be mitzdarf. So the same thing over here. You're not going to be, if you have one b'shtar or one b'peh, you're not going to be mitzdarf them. If you can't do two of them b'peh, you also can't do b'shtar. So Tosfos asks, what's the tzushta? Over there, we're talking about the reason why the two Eidim b'peh are not mitzdarf is because they're talking about two different loans. One was on Sunday and one was on Monday. So he says that really the din of echad b'shtar and echad b'peh is also really talking about two different things. Because echad, the one who's saying the eidus b'shtar, he's saying that I'm signing on the loan. He's not saying that I know that there was a loan. It could have been that the borrower went to him and say, sign on a star, which will, and I'm going to try to borrow money from the lender, and I'll hand over the star to the lender if he agrees to lend the money. So all he's making, when he signs on it, he's proving that he ended up giving. So now you have, if the star is in the hand of the lender, that's a raya that the borrower handed over to the lender. While the person who's a milva al peh was a person, an aid, who just sees that he said, I'm borrowing money, that's a aid to the actual loan. So really, in a certain sense, being aid on two separate things, just like where one is an aid on Sunday and the other one is an aid on Monday, are really talking about two separate things, which still amount to that. In either case, whenever the loan was, the two Eidim amount to the fact that Reuven owed Shimon $100. So he's saying that will be, so l'chayra, if we say Shnayim al peh over there, you can't be mitzdarf, so too over here, echad b'peh and echad b'ksav is also not going to mitzdarf. According to B'shuv ben Karcha, who disagrees with Tanakam over this, as Shnayim b'ksav and Shnayim al peh, who the mitzdarf, that he'll say, by Shnayim b'ksav and Shnayim b'peh, there they could be mitzdarf. That's the question. Do you say B'shuv ben Karcha, who would say you could be mitzdarf the two Eidim al peh, that one says on Sunday and one says on Monday, there you can be mitzaref. But if it's one b'ksav and one b'peh, which are two different forms of edus, you can't mitzaref. That was the question that they sent to Rabbi Yirmiyah. I am not the person, I'm not worthy of being asked this question. This is the way he's referred to him as your Talmud, he's being very modest. This is the way it seems to me, I think that even according to Bishur ben Karcha, you'll say that it's mitzdarf. Or at least according to Bishur ben Karcha, even though it's not mitzdarf, but according to Bishur ben Karcha, you would say that echad b'ksav and echad b'peh should be mitzdarf like a meimar and not like abai. Amalei, they said to him, Anan hachi masin Allah. They said we have a different version. So we wanted to bring this as a raya in any case. This is our raya that it is a mitzdarf, echad b'ksav and echad b'peh. They said, no, we have a different version of this whole discussion of what the question of Rabbi Yirmiyah was and what his response was. Anan hachi masin Allah. The shochel echaver Rabbi Yirmiyah. Shnam shehidu echad bebezdin zev echad bebezdin zev. If two Eidim came and said Eidus, but they didn't come both to the same Bezdin. That means one went to the Bezdin in Williamsburg, and the other one went to the Bezdin in Flatbush. And Maushi Yavo Bezdin, Eitzel Bezdin V'yitztar. Can you have the two Batei Dinim get together, and they'll say, listen, you heard 1-8, and you heard Ruvain 8, and we heard Shimon 8, so between the two of them, we have two Eidim. According to the Tanakama of Nassim, what was the Tanakama of Rav Nassim? So I forgot it already. They're arguing about a case where they came to the same Bezdin, but they weren't made together. So the Tanakama of Nassim says that as you have to have the two Eidim come at one time and say the Eidim together. So according to the Chacham, according to that Tanakama, you can't be mitzdarf two Eidim that didn't say their Eidim together. Certainly, if they came and said their Eidim to two separate, but they didn't, the two Eidim, you can't be mitzdarf them. Rav Nassim says you can have one Eid come on Sunday and the next one come on Monday, and then you can put together their Eidos. Maybe that's only in the same bezdin that you can mitzdarf the two Eidos to make them to one Eid. I don't know, or maybe no. Even if it's two Eidim, even if it's two separate batei dinim and two Eidim on different days, you could be mitzdarf. So on that, Rabbi Yirmiyah answered, it's not kedai. You shouldn't have asked me. I'm not worthy. This is the way it's nighted to me. That should be mitzdarf. But again, this has nothing to do with our original question of echad b'ksav and echad b'peh. This is an unrelated question. So there's no raya. There's a third. I'm going to have a fourth. I'm going to have two more versions of what this question to Rabbi Yirmiyah was, and none of them are going to have anything to do with our original question. But this version was two Eidim went and said Eidus in the Bezdin in Flatbush, and then they went and said the same Eidus in Williamsburg, and then they went and they said the Rashbam says even a third Eidus in Borough Park. What's it in? Before we were talking about where they said the Eidim each said in different batei dinim, and all of the batei dinim are showing up. So you have a bezdin, each bezdin of 3. So you have 9 people or 6 batei dinim, 6 dayanim showing up. Over here we're saying 2 of the dayanim in each bezdin died, and you only have 1 dayan coming from the bezdin in Williamsburg, and 1 dayan from the bezdin in Borough Park, and 1 dayan coming from the bezdin in Flatbush. And they each one of these 3 dayanim heard the Eidus, both Eidim. So it's not a question of the Eidus. The question is the Bezdin considered a good Bezdin of 3, even though it's made up of the remnants, only 1 dayan from each Bezdin? So, Aliba de Rav Nosson Loiti Bailach. According to Rav Nosson, in that earlier question that we had said, that Rav Nosson says that you could be mitzdarf Eidim that said Edis on one day, and then one aid said on one day, and the other one said on the next day. Hashta Edim Mitzarfin and Dayanim Ibayit. It's easier. There's more of it than that Edim have to be Shnei Edim. The Torah says you need to say Shnei Edim. Without Shnei Edim, it's useless. So if you give me Mitzvah of Edim, you could certainly be Mitzvah of Dayanim. Edim who delayed Mitzarfina, they say you can't put together two Edim. Aval Dayanim Mitzarfina Edim Lo. Shalach lahu ani ain't kedai shatem shalachtem li. I'm not kedai. I'll kach das mitchem noite sheyitztaf. I'm noite that it could be a mitzvah. This is the third version. Ravina Amar, he says a fourth version. Haki shakali shloish sheyash l'kayim es ashtar. If you had the everything was good. You had two Edim, and they signed on the star, and then they Bezdin had the two Edim come and verify that it was their signatures. And then usually what Bezdin does, they write an ashrasta, ashrasa, or we call a hempik. They certify that the edus is valid. But before they could actually put that certification on the document, one of them died. So when they put in the certification, the Bezdin, they have to write, usually the way they certify is they put the three signatures of the 3 dayanim underneath the Edim signature, and they write, this is the Bezdin certification. And they have all the signatures of all the dayanim. But here, one of the dayanim actually saw the certification, so it's a valid certification, he's not around. So they say you have to write that underneath, because otherwise people will think that you only need 2 dayanim to sign, to see a certification. You really only need 2 to be the Edim. Usually put 3, but since in this case one of them is dead, you have to write that the reason why he's not signing is not because he didn't see it, but because he's not available to sign. Or is it not? You could just have 2 Edim because the 2 Dayanim signed, because all you really need is an Edus that it was certified. I'm not the person should answer. This is the way it seems to be. That you have to write that we were 3 who originally saw the certification, the kiyum of the get, of the signatures, b'chad l'shavi, but one is Nebuch no longer here, and therefore he couldn't sign. And because of this, Rabbi Yirmiyah's response to this question, they reinstated him in the Beis Medrash. They'd been way back in the first parak, there was a whole thing where Rabbi Yirmiyah had given an answer, he was chaylik, and they got angry at him. So because of this response that they were happy with, they reinstated him in the Beis Medrash. Okay, we'll stop over here. I can't